For my lovely 5D mystics and functional adults, it's that time of year again. So we're going through another important transition. And while 4D talks about conspiracies, spiritual warfare, and puts people, no, they don't put people against each other. They're going with the silverbacks. So they don't mature their emotional body, and therefore they don't move out of what is an adaptive child response. Emotionally speaking, they get harsh, unforgiving. We can also call it cognitive dissonance, confirmation bias. There's a lot of different ways that one can talk about a limited human consciousness brain, because their brain is like my brain and your brain. And the difference, though, is that the 5D has the attachment system in check. How? Our oversoul. Remember how we always talk about twin flame flames or soulmates don't make a difference in the life of a 5D mystic or a functional adult. Why? Our relationships, they don't get experienced with the drama. Why? Because functional adults don't do the let me project emotions towards you. People who have childhood trauma, they go to people like Patrick Tiahan, and he is a childhood trauma survivor and therapist, and talks about how a person who has healed enough will not project. They will not do the self-righteousness stuff. They will also be aware of codependent type relationships and people. So they will notice the ones who are martyrs or superiors trying to change somebody, or the ones who are going to take care and they like self-blame. And that's because those two groups of people, which 4D collective and anybody who's still looking for a silverback, essentially it's a codependent type relationship. Otherwise you wouldn't need the strong person. And I say this because see, a silverback, in my idea and any 5D's idea, no, you're not strong. You're a person who today we don't really appreciate your mannerisms, is what I'm going to say. No, the people who we appreciate are people who are soft and kind, compassionate Zen masters, because they know what's important, because they're using emotional maturity. See, emotional maturity means that you can use your full-fledged brain, versus being reactive with a safety trauma behavior brain, which 4D mystics, by the way, they don't even know, but all of their channeled guidance, it's distorted. They come from the medieval times. They're continuing the duality land. They talk about so many different stories. Again, we can all actually build a breadcrumb of trails or a trail of breadcrumbs to get to where we want to go. Have you not noticed that anybody can do it? I noticed that I can do it. I was a kid and I noticed. I'm like, of course I'm going to live Maria's brain. Is my subjective experience not going to happen because somebody comes to me and says you can't? Oh, and let's get back to the codependent type people. You can't. They have low self-esteem. They have indirect communication, passive-aggressive. They also don't know what healthy boundaries are, because it's the minute that they interject in conversations that they're not even a part of, that they're telling you can't say something, you can't do this, you can't. So it's once you're trying to prove yourself in a conversation that you're not sharing joy, like the Sadhguru quote, and in fact you're not in oneness consciousness, 5D. We have fun. So we don't do the drama when somebody interjects as a person who either wants to be superior or the martyr or the I'm going to take care of you bit. We're like, okay, here's the floor, 2-year-old. I'm a 2-year-old too, but I'll give you the floor so that I can hear what your perspective is, because I know that I won't live your subjective experience because I'm in another body. It's Maria's body and mind. Oh, and I am a human baby, FYI. 4D likes to be star babies. We're human babies, and yes, we can be and are part of the stars. It's space. There's a very different relationship we have with the sphere of energy and hope. The oversoul, yes, I've seen people saying now, oh no, don't go find your twin flame. So first it's like something that they need to get their purpose. Now it's, oh, don't go because it's horrible. It's interesting how people translate their relationships to what would be the human suffering saga stories that the silverbacks want to keep moving with. So the independent thinkers are people who love to hear all subject matters. This is why the scientific methodology, it rocks and rules, and we know in time it continues to build empirical data, like the fact that our nature is love. Back to our attachment system, which is what's online in the first year of life. And in fact, I was just looking at my upcoming course on how to help people with trauma to not block themselves for real, not as the 4D says, don't use your fight flight mode. Like seriously, don't use your sympathetic. You're going to block your spirituality process. You need your sympathetic. And it doesn't block you anything. If you learn how your body works, then maybe you'll achieve the heaven in the body. And if you learn it from the psych educators, and or at least get somewhat trauma informed, somatic informed, like actual human informed, before you begin to talk about aspects from the esoteric, mystic, metaphysics, because that's where I always knew there's a difference between science and my mystic woo stuff. That's why I'm pseudoscience lady and I'm a woo lady over here. But for my mystics who are going through transformation right now, if you're 5D, you know it's another big one, not in the way that the 4D keeps making it seem like, and some are better than others, but the part is that we are all here with hands on deck. So even though I know, as anybody else does, that the system is flawed and imperfect, I'm flawed and imperfect, and all humans are flawed and imperfect, and we're not going to hold that against ourselves because we don't have the shame button. What we have is healthy self-worth. I'm not superior or inferior. I'm called a person, which means I'm going to have a range of emotions. What I do know how to do is not be reactive with them. That's because I'm a functional adult and I built emotion regulation skills. But I also was lucky. I don't have childhood abuse or neglect. You know how many people tell me that they're in favor of supporting mental health, and then they yell at somebody and they say, you're a narcissist. You know, that's not nice. That's weaponizing a word that actually means a lot of things. And you're not a therapist, so you shouldn't be doing that. You know how many people build on that story of, oh, I'm an empath, I only end up with narcissists. I mean, I get newsletters. So there's a whole world for the 4D land to have their identity, because their sense of self is not felt by the person who owns the body, because they're not trying to get in touch. No, the reality is the emotions are overwhelming. It's a body that has fear, which is why talking about your nervous system like it can block you is ridiculous. What you want to do is educate somebody about how the body and the mind work together. And your brain, by the way, is an anticipatory organ. Excuse it for trying to keep you safe. The negativity thing, it's not because we're negative. And the other part, humans crapping always on humans, made me laugh since I was a kid. Like, you're a human. I don't understand. And the one thing that I immediately was like, wow, you have low self-esteem. But let me not tell you so that I don't get punched in my face. And let you keep using, yes, devil, demons, keep using your excuses for why you're going to stay in the stereotypes, generalizations. And you know what that does? Studies have shown. Does not help people to resolve trauma. The ones who stay longer in PTSD, they use stereotypes and overgeneralizations. You know what people tell me when I say, why are you generalizing your own gender and stereotypes? What is this? Are you limiting your... Oh, no, but it's true. Really. Do you know all 8 billion people on the planet? And really, as I said, are you actually putting yourself in the box? Because if I were you, I'd be like, whoa, no way. I'm going to be the opposite of that box. 5D mystics. We're pretty much in that knowingness of us as infinite higher human consciousness potential experiences. And we love seeing spirituality like with Sadhguru, but we also love seeing the spiritual stuff in the middle and the human stuff, the scientific methodology. So when we have moments of transition, like what we're going to have and are already having and seeing, we're not spending time in the idea of spiritual warfare, because that really isn't happening on the ground. What's happening on the ground is something much more important. And you know what I love about being an entrepreneur and knowing about all the creators who are entrepreneurs too? That we get to do shit and good stuff, and then other people who join on in other ways too. So the co-creative effort is for those who use their creator, because we can. See, when you do use left and right mode of your brain, it's because you have achieved at the very least emotional regulation skills. And here's where people who have enough healing from their trauma, they get here too. People who have enough healing from their attachment insecurity, and that's by coming together and accepting each other. A secure person, which is what a 5D mystic and functional adult are, is always going to open a door to anyone. Don't matter if they're an adaptive child who has an ego and they refer to us in certain ways and do things. We are going to always look at them with love and respect and actually dialogue, because talking heart to heart is not a challenge for those of us who are good to be ourselves as imperfect human beings and don't crap on our species, because it's kind of ridiculous. We build knowledge. None of us were born learned. And apparently people forget that when they build all of what they build. And I'm a political science major, by the way. So there's a lot of ways you can fill a hole. And filling holes is not an answer to anything. And it doesn't allow you to be proactive. So let's come together. Yeah. We're going to have a lot of fun. 5D mystics, functional adults. Tune on in. learn emotion building regulation skills and relationships minus the drama.